The porch light was still broken. The wind still knocked that loose shutter beside the kitchen window, and the mat still said, "Welcome home," though I hadn't felt that in a long time. I stood there for a second longer, suitcase in one hand, a grocery bag of laundry in the other. The key still worked. That surprised me. Inside, the smell hit first lemon-scented floor cleaner, the kind my mom used every Sunday growing up. The lights were off, but a soft glow came from under the hallway. I didn't call out. I just walked down like I used to past the family photo from 2008 where my eyes were half closed, but no one ever reprinted it. My name is Elena Ward. I'm 25, a freelance designer, part-time barista, recent graduate, and apparently a temporary guest in my own house. It wasn't supposed to be forever. I told them I just needed a few months, just long enough to save, breathe, maybe remember what normal felt like. My parents, Richard and Diana, had said, of course. "You'll always have a room here," Mom had smiled over FaceTime. But things change. I reached the door. My door. It still had the little green sticker from when I was 12 and obsessed with frogs. I smiled at that, then turned the knob, and stopped. The bed was there, but with different sheets. The posters were gone. My bookshelf empty. And in the middle of the room, sitting cross-legged with her AirPods in, was Kayla, my 17-year-old half-sister, nails painted neon orange, scrolling through her phone like this had always been hers. She looked up, blinked, then smirked. "Oh, you're back." That was it. Not, "Hi." Not, "Sorry I moved into your room without asking." Just, "You're back." I couldn't speak. I turned toward the hallway, hoping maybe this was a joke, some temporary shuffle. But then I saw it. My things stuffed into a trash bag. 2, actually. Sitting by the laundry machine like donation drop-off. A box was half open on top. Inside, my graduation photo, the one where Dad said I looked too serious. A cracked mug from my college dorm. My sketchbook. I heard footsteps behind me. Dad. He was holding a sandwich and didn't look surprised to see me. "Hey," he said, chewing. "Yeah, we had to shuffle a few things. Kayla needed more space. You can crash in the den for now." The den. No door. No bed. Just a futon and a dusty treadmill. He didn't wait for an answer. He walked back toward the kitchen, humming something off-key. I stood there alone, still holding the key, still smelling the lemon floor cleaner, still hearing that stupid shutter flapping outside. And all I could think was, when did I stop being part of this house? And why did no one bother to tell me I stood at the washer for longer than I should have? Long enough for the sandwich smell to fade. Long enough for Kayla's music to start bleeding through the hallway walls, some pop beat with no lyrics, just bass that thudded like a reminder. You're not home. The trash bags were thin. I could see outlines through the plastic, my hoodie from freshman year, the one I lived in through breakups and finals. A corner of my sketchbook poked through, bent and damp. I reached for it. The paper stuck together. Ink had bled across the page. My notes, my drawings, gone soft like they'd been left out in the rain. Still, no one said anything. I carried the bags to the den. No, not carried. Dragged. One of them ripped near the door. My socks tumbled out like a slow spill of memory. I crouched down to gather them, blue, mismatched, worn thin. In the den, the futon creaked under me. There was no sheet, just a scratchy throw blanket and a single pillow with a hair dye stain that wasn't mine. The air smelled like old coffee and silence. A family photo hung crooked on the far wall. We were all in it, Dad, Mom, me in the middle. No Kayla yet. I remember that day. Mom had made us all wear navy. I had cried because I didn't want to match. Now I wasn't even in the frame anymore. Not really. I tried to ask later that night. Mom was rinsing dishes. I thought, you said I'd always have a room here. She didn't turn around. Water kept running. I did. But sweetie, Kayla has school. You're not a kid anymore. You understand, right? I nodded like I did. But the truth settled heavy. It wasn't about space. It was about priority. Kayla had a future that needed structure. I had a degree and a tote bag full of bills. She had plans, routines, softball friends over. I was between things. And maybe that's what hurt the most. They didn't tell me because they assumed I wouldn't fight. And they were right. I didn't scream, didn't throw anything. Just laid down on the futon that night, listening to the baseboards creak and Kayla laugh upstairs. And in the quiet, the question came again, only sharper this time. When exactly did I become the one they could discard without even a conversation? The next morning, Kayla's alarm went off at 6:15. She didn't turn it off. She let it play 3 songs deep before finally thudding across the floor in her socks. I lay there on the futon, eyes wide open. No window in the den, no clock. Only the blinking light from the router across the room pulsing like a heart that didn't belong to me anymore. Mom passed by once holding a mug. She didn't stop, didn't ask if I slept okay, didn't notice that the futon had dipped so far down I could feel the floor pressing into my spine. I checked my phone. 46 unread messages in the Ward Fam group chat. Birthday planning for Kayla. Coordinating outfits for family photos. Dinner on Sunday with Aunt Marie. Someone had shared a flyer open house for college night. I scrolled up. My last message in that thread was from 3 weeks ago. I had asked if anyone wanted to join me for my design showcase. No one had replied. No one had even left a scene. And now I couldn't reply. The bar at the bottom said, "You are no longer part of this conversation." I blinked, refreshed the screen. Still gone. They had removed me. I didn't cry right away. Not then. It came later that afternoon when I opened the fridge. A cake box was inside, already half eaten. Red velvet. My favorite. I looked closer. On the corner of the box was a note: Kayla. Congrats on early decision. Love you. The date on the cake was from the night I arrived. They'd celebrated. While I was unpacking garbage bags in the den, they had cut slices, poured drinks, taken pictures I'd never see. And no one had thought to offer me even a crumb. I sat on the floor of the kitchen, cold tile against bare feet, that same hum of the refrigerator in my ears. And finally, I broke. Not loud, not messy. Just shoulders, shaking lips pressed into my sleeve, tears that didn't ask for attention. Because no one was watching anyway. That night, I scrolled through old photos on my phone. Birthday candles, beach days. A blurry shot of me, age 11, dancing in the backyard with Dad's hoodie wrapped around my waist. Back when I was still the center of someone's camera roll. Now, I wasn't even in the background. And the question I kept circling back to wasn't why they did it. It was how they did it so easily. It started with a walk. Not far, just around the block. I needed air. A reason not to stare at the water stain on the den ceiling for another hour. The sun was setting that way only autumn can manage, wide, amber, and quiet. Leaves scraped along the sidewalk. A couple of kids rode past on bikes, giggling in half sentences. I turned the corner and there it was. A small brick house tucked between 2 larger ones. Faded blue shutters. Overgrown rosemary by the mailbox. And a crooked for sale sign that looked like it had been there too long. It wasn't pretty. The paint was chipped. One of the front steps had a crack down the middle. But something about it pulled me. There were no cars in the driveway, no curtains in the windows, no sign of life, yet it didn't feel abandoned. Just waiting. I crossed the street without meaning to, walked right up to the mailbox. Inside it was empty, not even a flyer. I stepped back and looked at the front door. Plain wood, scratched near the handle. And for some reason, I thought I could fix that. Not I wish someone would. Not too bad no one cares. I could fix that. It didn't make sense. I didn't have money, didn't have savings, didn't even have my own room. But something about that old blue-shuttered house made me stand still for the first time in days. I took a picture, not to send to anyone, not to post, just to remember. That night, back in the den, I stared at the photo like a map, and the thought arrived without fanfare, without logic, without asking for permission. If I can't belong here, maybe I can build somewhere I do. That was it. No grand plan, no blueprint, just a flicker, a frame, a cracked front step. And for the first time since being told to crash in the den, I didn't feel like the furniture. I felt like a person again. I didn't tell anyone, not Mom, not Dad, definitely not Kayla. I just started waking up earlier. The coffee shop I worked at part-time opened at 6:30, but I asked for the 5:00 a.m. shift. They said yes, surprised but relieved. Most mornings I left before the lights came on upstairs. The sky still dark, the streets still quiet. Sometimes I'd walk by the blue-shuttered house on my way to work. Nothing had changed. Still for sale. Still slightly forgotten. but I had changed. Quietly. After my shift ended at noon, I'd head to the library, pick up freelance jobs online. Anything editing menus, designing local ads, even vector work for a guy building a travel app. I created a folder on my drive just in case. Inside it, I logged every dollar earned every step closer. I stopped opening the fridge, stopped waiting for a "how are you" that never came. Dinner was often instant noodles eaten from a paper cup on the futon, but it tasted like movement. Mom occasionally asked why I wasn't applying to real jobs. I'd just smile. Still looking. Dad joked once, "You sure you're not trying to set a record for longest stay on that couch?" I laughed like it was funny. Like I didn't sleep with earplugs because Kayla's new keyboard was set up in what used to be my room. Some nights I'd walk past the den mirror and not recognize my reflection. Eyes tired, hair pulled back in a braid I hadn't taken out in 3 days. But I had a secret now, and it was mine. Every Friday I'd sneak into the Blue House's backyard and measure, pace the fence line, trace where a garden could go. I found an old flyer on the porch with the realtor's name and started watching the market. The house wasn't expensive, not great either, but it was still standing, and sometimes that's enough. I saved, cut corners, skipped outings, sold old art pieces online, even designed flyers for Kayla's club and took the cash under the table, and slowly, steadily a shape formed. Not a house yet, but a way out. No one noticed. But I didn't need them to, because for once I wasn't waiting to be invited. I was building the door myself. It happened on a Tuesday, quiet, rainy, no one home. The realtor handed me the keys with a smile that didn't ask questions. I signed the last paper with shaking hands, but I didn't say a word. No one knew. I didn't make a post, didn't text anyone, didn't even walk through the front door right away. I stood outside first, touched the crooked mailbox, ran my fingers along the railing I once thought I couldn't afford to paint. Then I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It smelled like dust and time, but it was mine. I spent the next 2 weeks moving my things in at night. One backpack at a time, old mugs, sketchbooks, the graduation photo no one framed. Every item placed gently like laying bricks in a wall no one would knock down this time. I didn't quit the coffee shop, didn't change my number. By day, I still showed up at the family house, still ate cereal from the den, still said good morning like nothing had shifted. But each evening, I walked back across the yard to my own place. Yes, across the yard. Because the blue shuttered house sat right behind theirs. Only a wooden fence between us. Kayla never noticed. Mom might have seen me through the window once but didn't say anything. And I didn't offer. I let time pass. Fixed up the inside, painted the door, hung the graduation photo, and then I built the pool. Not a big one. Just a plunge pool, concrete and clean with soft blue tiles and quiet water. No splashing, no floaties, no music, just stillness. I dug it with help from a friend I'd met on a design job. Paid in cash, got the permit, had the backyard cleared in a weekend. The digging started at 6 a.m., the trucks backed in beeping loud. I saw Dad pull his blinds open once, squinting at the sound. But he never came outside, didn't ask, didn't knock. The pool finished 3 days later. I sat beside it that night with a cup of tea, feet in the water. The porch light from their house flickered in the distance. And all I could think was, they told me to sleep on the floor. Now there's a gate between us, and a pool they'll never be invited to. It started with yelling, not from me. From inside the house, the one I used to belong to. I was pruning the rosemary by my gate when I heard it. Mom's voice, first sharp and desperate. Then Dad's, louder than I'd ever heard it. Then a door slammed. Then silence. I didn't move. I just watered the base of the rosemary, counted the seconds between shouts. That night, I saw the car pull up, Kayla in the passenger seat, arms crossed, eyes puffy. A man followed. Not family, not familiar. He dropped her duffel on the porch and drove off without a word. No one opened the door. She sat there, knees to her chest, for almost 10 minutes. I watched from my kitchen window. Not hiding, not gloating, just watching. The next day, I ran into Mom near the back fence. She looked thinner, hollowed out. "She's been suspended," she said suddenly, like it was a headline she had to read out loud to someone. "Caught with pills. Not hers." Could have been expelled, but we're working on it. I didn't say anything. She looked at me then. Really looked. And for the first time in years, she looked small. Not cruel. Not dismissive. Just lost. She's not like you, Mom added softly. She's not strong. I blinked. Not thank you. Not we were wrong. Just a justification, a quiet plea, a rewrite of history she wanted me to nod to. But I didn't. I stood still. Let her talk. Let her carry her weight back into the house with nothing from me to lighten it. Later that week, I got a knock on my front door. Dad. He looked tired, older, held a plate of cookies like it was an apology in ceramic form. We thought maybe you'd want to come by this weekend. Kayla's home. Things are hard right now. I looked at the cookies, then at the porch where no one had waited for me. I don't think so, I said. But thank you. His face twitched, a second of something like shame. Then he nodded and walked away, and I closed the door, not in anger, not with pride, just gently, because it no longer opened both ways. I still have the key to their house. It sits in a drawer next to an old receipt and a bent bobby pin. Sometimes I forget it's there. They haven't changed the locks. Not that I'd try the door again. Kayla passed me once last week, walking fast toward the bus stop. No eye contact, no words. She wore my old denim jacket. I recognized the frayed cuff and the small embroidered star near the collar. She used to say it looked too vintage. Now she wraps herself in it like it belongs. I didn't say anything. Dad mows the lawn less now. Mom still peeks through the curtains when she thinks I'm not looking. They've invited me twice, once for Kayla's birthday, once for Easter brunch. Both times I replied politely, I've made other plans. I hadn't. But I didn't lie, because I had made other plans. Long ago. The rosemary bush in my yard is taller now. I planted lavender beside it. Sometimes I sit by the pool in the early morning feet in the still water, coffee in hand, not thinking about anything except the sound of my own breathing. I keep the porch light on, but no one knocks. Sometimes I wonder if they ever talk about me, if they explain my absence or just let the silence fill the shape I left behind. Maybe it's easier to say I drifted. Maybe they've convinced themselves I chose distance. They're not wrong. I just wish they'd admit they opened the door first. The last thing I brought from their house was a book, an old hardcover with a pressed flower inside. It had my name written in pencil on the first page, Elena, age 8. I placed it on the windowsill beside a small ceramic frog from my childhood. No caption, no meaning spelled out. Just a quiet reminder that I had been there. Once. And now I don't need a room, or a framed photo, or a place in the group chat. I was there. They just lived easier pretending I wasn't. If you've ever lived in a house where silence said more than words, just leave a single symbol below. A key, a gate, a pool. You don't have to explain. I already know.